Hello everybody, the Ratman here, coming to you with 80 Days. So, obviously enough, this is not my first attempt at the game. This is actually, to be more precise, my second run of the game. You can actually see my first run is highlighted. I guess as a constant reminder of my abject failure at accomplishing my goal of making it back home and putting myself $30,000 in debt. So this is pretty much happening right after my failure of the first round, and I'm not sure if it's... I mean, I know Munster Fogg remarked, "Oh, then we must try again, then, together." I know he said that, but I don't know if it's actually going to be, like, the story's going to be perceived as doing it again, or if the story is resetting, and only I have the knowledge that we attempted it once before. The playthrough seed has changed. It went from 1 to 2, apparently, in which Pastor Perdue is convinced that he has at least found his ideal. So, let's see what happens. My master returned home from the Reform Club with a strange gleam in his eye. "Pastor Perdue," said, "we are going around the world. Pack my hunting rifle and my evening jacket. There is not a moment to waste. I now have funds." Apparently I was given a rifle this time around. Strange. Well, I can't fit everything in here. So we'll go with that. Sorry, bro. Gonna have to leave behind your jacket. So yes, I am very much willing to put myself through the ringer yet again. Why? Because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I really, really want this to work out for us. So the black line is signifying the routes that I took before, so here's what I'm thinking. I want to try and build myself up to go north. Seems like I could head north towards the North Pole. What if I cut through the North Pole? Or try to cut around it. See, this is where I am right now, so what if I went this way? Like, I'm trying to cut myself around the North Pole entirely. What if I try to do that? So I want to try and head a bit more towards the north side. So we left aboard the 825 from Charing Cross as the final whistle shrieked its warning. Our journey had begun. Yes, Paris is in fact quite old-fashioned. Mention trains. I've been told one can travel aboard the Trans-Siberian Express from Moscow to Karamskaya, but the fare is nearly 2,000 pounds. Ooh. From Moscow to Karamskaya. And there's blankets you can get in Sofia that you can sell for a profit in Odessa. So there's stuff in Sofia that you can sell for a profit, period. Where's Sofia? Oh, look at that. Wow! Look at that. So there's definitely a difference in the dialogue. Like, there was more like fuss and like worry about us getting here in time, like us getting on the train in time. Now it's just kind of like no reaction. Alright, so this is what I'm thinking. Go to Paris. And then let's see. This is actually tempting. This is actually a bit more tempting, but at the same time, I still wonder if I can cut around the North Pole. Apparently you can actually go to the North Pole, which I'm guessing is dangerous for your health. Oh, I am sure. But instead of going south into this area, I'm actually going to try and head a bit more towards the north. So I'm going to maybe go to Munich or Munich, then go to Berlin maybe, or start to head into Germany. I'd like to go to Copenhagen. I'm sure Martin would love to know that I went to Denmark. Oh, please tell me that Copenhagen is in Denmark. I really don't want to make an embarrassment of myself by mistaking what cities are in what countries. The Amphitrite Express rattled along narrow-gauge rails to Dover, where its fins extended and it plunged directly into the channel. Monsieur Fogg made no remark as the dark water pressed against our windows. I thought it so marvelous, but at the same time, how many marvels were still to come? God! I cannot speak properly today. How embarrassing. We splashed up onto the rails at Calais and closed the remaining miles to Paris-Gare du Nord quickly. According to today's paper, Monsieur Fogg remarked, the Orient Express now runs as far as Bucharest. Fascinating. So let's take a moment to explore, of course. Ah, there we go. We can get to Amsterdam. The Exposition Universelle sprawled over the grounds of the purpose-built Palais du Champ de Mars. Hot air balloons sailed gently across the sky, and the powdery light of the Yapsho Cave candles gleamed invitingly. I suppressed my memories of the siege and visited the exposition. You know what? Let's try and get a bit more influence with the artificers. Or the artifactors, whatever you want to call them. So we headed towards the tents of their guild, draped with banners and blazoned with their copper lily sigil. It had the most incredible display of machines, as though a scrapyard had been brought to playful life. One of the artificers had his hands deep inside a human-shaped automaton. God, I can't pronounce words. What is English? What is life? I think I was having the same problem pronouncing that word in the first playthrough, too. Shit. Rummaging through its clockwork innards, he took out a piece of engraved glass and peered at it with a jeweler's loupe. Dashed thing, he cursed in upper-class English tones, and then looked up. Oh, hello. I didn't mean to interrupt, I said politely. Nonsense, young man. I'm trying to build an automaton that can cook, you see, but it's not going well. He looked mournful. This one can't even fry a chip. How long have you been trying, I asked. It's been a dream of mine ever since I was a young lad at boarding school. It's why I became an artificer. The wistful tone dropped into horror. The things old Mrs. Parsons could do to a cabbage, the tender stomachs of Britain's youth would be much safer in mechanical hands. Do you cook it yourself? Not a jot, the artificer replied cheerfully, and then stroked his mustache. Do you suppose that's the fly in the ointment? He thumped me on the back. Good thought, old chap. Perhaps I'll go and find myself a cook to model my automaton upon. The artificer smiled. I wished him well in his culinary endeavors. He was at least in the right city to find a cook. And returned to the center of the exposition, ears ringing with the bombastic tunes of the steam orchestra. Avenues sprawled in every direction between the inviting illuminated pavilions of the exposition. I went west towards the airship hangar, past a booth with a husband and wife pair selling panoramic hot air balloon rides to eager tourists. I inquired as to the hourly rate, wondering if perhaps the balloon could be encouraged to go a little way east as well and contribute to our great journey. £80 for a half-hour flight, the man responded. Jesus, that is expensive. Not today, I think. Regarding the airships that filled the hangar behind him, there were a huge number on display from all over the world, and my eye was immediately caught by... a gyrocopter! It looked tiny and flimsy in comparison with the airships surrounding it. They say the Incas invented the first gyrocopter, boasted the dark-haired pirate, pushing up her goggles to give me a wink. As their heirs, we Peruvians have made some few improvements. You do not see many Peruvian gyrocopters in the air, I remarked. Are they unsafe? No, they are quite safe, but they are quite hard to build. Perhaps one day soon Monsieur Fogg and I would find ourselves flying in such a craft. Maybe. I returned to the exposition center, my thoughts turning with clouds and engine rotors. I didn't want to risk taking too long and pissing off my master. I decided to take my leave and I returned to Monsieur Fogg, who was eating a meal, plain boiled beef, à l'anglaise. Did you enjoy the exposition? My master inquired indifferently. And I nodded. Will we travel by airship, do you suppose? I asked. I think it highly likely, he replied. They are expensive, but extremely fast. I dreamed at night of mechanical wonders and automatons with beautifully enameled faces, knowing little of the strange inventions and stranger people I would soon encounter in my journey around the world. Alright, let's check the marketplace. See if there's anything worthwhile in here. Well, I can sell his rifle. Don't know if I want to do that, though. Ooh, that's worth a lot. That gives me a reason to go to Copenhagen. Just take it all. I'm sure we can go from Amsterdam to Copenhagen. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go that way. It won't cost us too much. We'll be comfortable here, but traveling overnight will often be more efficient. Where possible. We cannot travel where it is not possible, certainly, he replied. Still, the surrounds of the Hotel Ritz were most enjoyable. Alright. Yep, hire a car. The driving cap should make my master more comfortable. Good. Making our way up north. So already I'm going a different direction. Hopefully it pays off. Hopefully is the good word. The idea is to go from Amsterdam to Copenhagen Maybe I can keep cutting across, like to Stockholm, over here to St. Petersburg. Maybe get myself back on track, going all the way this way. I'm nervous though. I really want to test my luck and see if maybe I can head into the North Pole and cut up north. But part of me feels like that might not be smart. I don't know. I don't know. Alright, so we found a member of the Coachmakers Guild to carry us to Amsterdam. She loaded the cases onto the back, stoked the boiler, and took off at high speed along the coastal road, swerving around each corner with considerable skill and, I think, a touch of showmanship. I clung on tight. This would be a terrific ride. Greetings, driver. I can't drive well if you're talking to me, bastard. Can I get to Copenhagen? Alright, good. I can make it there by local hire car. Exactly what I wanted to know. Once or twice, the metal-rimmed wheels lifted the chassis clear from the road on one side, only to bump down after a chuff and puff more of the engine. We must have topped 40, perhaps even 50 miles an hour. A fabulous way to travel. The Polish inventor Ryouseiken, who had first attached a perfectly decent locomotive engine underneath a flimsy wooden crate, was clearly a genius. My good friends, if I were not destined to become a valet until the day I have gray hair in my ears, I would have become a car driver and gad the rich and famous around the mountains of the south of France every day between the hours of 2 and 6. Does such a role exist? Perhaps I will invent it, if not. Doot doot! As we rattled along, I spoke to our driver about what lay ahead and learned that you could pick up Viking drinking horns in Copenhagen that will sell for a fortune in Bucharest. Copenhagen, Bucharest. Copenhagen, Bucharest. It said Bucharest. Keep that in mind. I feel like I've been to that particular city, though, before. Not Budapest. Ah, Bucharest. Feels like it would be so much out of the way, though. Well, anyway. I'm quite polished, as they say.